Makes sense so far?
I'm a little confused. So what? I'm still kind of confused what context is.
Okay, so what context is? Let me get my annotation tools. So in traditional React, we
Sorry,
have this.
are you recording this, please? Can you record?
Yeah, I'm recording it.
Okay, cool.
So in traditional React, we have this tree-like structure with components. And we generally have our upper level component, which is app. Lots of times we make our state live at the top. And anytime we need to share props or share that state down, we have to go level by level, level by level, so on and so on. So with context, what we're doing is we're pulling all of that out and we're moving it over there into these contexts. And instead of just calling them contexts, I'm going to call them providers because they provide context. And then this allows us to pass them directly to where we want. It allows us to manage the state of our app a lot better instead of drilling down level through level. In most of our projects, we don't have very much prop drilling going on. It's just a couple of levels, especially your daily projects and sprints and stuff. But imagine if it was a full production level app. Like you could have potentially hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of components. And if you were trying to pass props down from app all the way down to, bottom level, that would be insane, right?
Okay, so provider or context, it's instead of having to chain it all the way down, we just put it in its own like context file where we declare state, and then we could just pass that in wherever we need it instead of having to go down the ladder.
Correct.
Okay, all right. That makes sense.
Correct. So syntaxically, how do we start accomplishing that? Is by creating our first context, which is done with using the create context hook. We're going to pull it in from React along with our use state. We're going to set up part context to equal create context. Then we're going to make ourselves a context provider. So we have our part context provider. Takes in props, uses our use state for setting our data, just like we would normally in app. And then we're going to return something that looks awful lot like a component, right? But this is actually the provider. And then we're telling the value what the value of it is, which is parts. And then we're giving it props.children. And then if we go back into app, we're just going to wrap everything with that provider. So now anything that is in here has access to this if we want it to. But the way we pass that in, go ahead.
Sorry, so everything that you wrapped is going to have access to that state?
Yes,
okay,
but only where we want to send it in.
Yeah. Okay.
And then so the same for cart context. We're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to bring in our create context hook. We're going to set cart context equal to create context. We're going to create our context provider. We're going to use our state, set it up the same way. And then we're going to bring in our logic, so our set cart this is the remove cart remove, and our add cart. And then we're going to set our value. So our cart context provider is going to have cart, set cart, remove cart, add cart, right? And then we're giving that props.children. And again, in app.js, we are wrapping that around everything as well. Make sense?
Yeah. Can you go back to the cart context for me?
Yes.
I want to finish writing that out. I'm
Okay.
coding along.
Nice.
Okay, so we're creating a context called cart context.
Yep.
So it's, I guess in the context of this project, no pun intended, cart context is where we house all of our, house like the functionality to remove and add stuff to the cart.
Yes, and there's going to be something different that you'll be shown later too, which is called the reducer pattern, where we will have our actions. So we will actually dispatch this logic, and we'll move this even out of the context into reducers, because that falls more in line with Redux.
Okay.
Are you all caught up, Chris?
No. I'm still setting up the state right here. Items is going to be an empty array.
All right. Well, you guys let me know when to move forward.
All right. Probably should just the cart remove functions and the set cart, that all comes from app, right? Like, can you copy and paste that in there or no?
Yeah, I just pulled it out of app. I just cut it out of app and brought it in and pasted it into my cart context.
Cool. I'll save some time.
Yeah. And then we just got to make sure that we give the value of our cart context provider access to all that good stuff. And then once everyone is caught up, we will see how to actually use this where we want it. And don't worry too much about app.js right now, guys, and wrapping everything. Once we get this all laid out, we'll go back into app and pull out the stuff that's unnecessary and then wrap everything.
All right, so we don't need the states and app anymore.
No.
After you say not to worry about it, I go in there and erase it. You know how it is.
That's fine. You can erase it. But as far as, like, right now, you guys probably have props passed into these things. We don't have to erase those just yet. Are we ready to move forward?
It looks like we've got some still working on it, Tommy.
Okay, no worries.
I can put a thread in the channel.
Yeah, get us a thread.
As soon as I find our new channel, there it is.
I know, there's so many channels. I still have like Web 25 channels and Web 21 channels. I really need to clean up my Slack.
Looks like we got 13 in here with us at the moment.
Okay.
Once that number
And let
gets
me know
close to that.
Let me know too if you guys need a peek at the part context again.
Instead of just showing us the code and like kind of verbally walking through it, could you maybe in the future, like maybe like tomorrow or whenever we're going over the next portions of code or something, could
Do
we
the
walk through the code as you're coding it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I could have done the whole restructure live. It's just I wanted, since I didn't have like a working solution to like go off of, generally before I do something live like that, I want to make sure it's actually working so we don't just all end up stuck for like an hour because something is broke.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And we
that
could do
is-
that with the reducers.
yeah. We could definitely do that with reducers. But there's really not much going on. Like if we see, we're just pulling this in, we're setting it equal to this, we're making this export our cart context provider, we're bringing in our state from app.js, we're bringing in our remove function from app.js and our add function from app.js, and then we're returning a component called cart context provider with the value of
All
all
the
the
those are the functions in the state that we want to pass around the rest of that.
correct. Do we got any more thumbs up on Chris's comment in there in the channel?
Still riding at 2. Oh, 4 or 5, halfway.
I'll wait until we get at least like
Yeah.
12 of us there, 11 of us.
Majority rules, man.
And then feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question or if you want me to flip back to part context.
I'm looking at Christina's RGBA numbers. That's insane.
There's a few different ways to do this too, so I suggest later on this afternoon as you're working on and playing with this that you look up some other ways to use context. Like maybe try to refactor it into class components even. All right, we are up to 8. It looks like. Give
Yep.
it till at least 10. 9. 1 away. All right, we're at 10. Does anyone need to see the part context?
I wasn't able to get it now.
Are you still on cart?
No, I finished that up.
Okay. So part was pretty small. It's just same thing. We're bringing in our hook, setting part context equal to create context, making our provider. We're bringing in our state for our parts and set parts, giving it our data, and then we're making our component and giving it the value of parts. Props.children.
Yeah, I put a snippet of the parts context code in the channel too. If anybody wants to look over that.
Okay, now we'll jump into how do we use these. So where should I start, Chris? Which components? What component should I start in first, do you think?
Maybe start at the top of the tree, work your way down. I mean, start passing it that way so that I see app.js goes to, we got a store container and a category container. So probably store container.
Store container. Okay. So store container, all we're going to need is our part context in store container. And if you look at your code now, the reason for that is if you look in, we're only using parts. We're only, and for you right now, it should say props.parts, right? That's what you guys should see.
Mm-hmm.
So now here we want to use our context. So we're going to bring in our part context from our directory there that's housing our part context. And then we also want to, within our function, we're calling const, we're bringing in parts, and we're setting that equal to use context, part context. That allows us to go and get rid of that word props, because that is now being handled here. Since we're no longer passing it down, we're passing it kind of sideways, actually.
Parts equals use context.
And we're importing parts or the part context component.
We're importing the name component, so it's a parts context component.
Gotcha.
And you also need the use context hook from React.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. We do need to use context hook from React.
Okay, so props.parts is now parts. No more props.
Yep,
So
no
after
more
that,
props.
you just go get rid of props on everything, right? Everything that says parts.
Yep, everything that says props.parts, we just get rid of the props dot, and we just leave it as parts. Because that's now coming from our part context. And I put another thumbs up thing to let me know when you guys are ready to move forward in the channel. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask.
So we get rid of props because we imported parts.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we no longer need the props.parts. We just need our parts.
All right. Yeah, that actually does make it easier. Instead of having to remember what props are.
Yeah, you don't have to type props 50 times.
Mm-hmm. And this lets us know, we know exactly what our props are. We don't need the console log to figure out if we're passing it right. We know exactly what they are because we set them up in our parts context, right? We call on a few people. Devin, Hunter, Josh, Jesus. This all making sense to you guys?
I get it.
What, you calling out our team?
All right, we got 6 ready to move forward. We'll wait for a few more.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding what's happening here, so I don't get confused later. So essentially, we're declaring state in these. I guess, or could you call, like in the part context.js, could you call that a component?
The context itself, I wouldn't call it a component.
Mm-hmm.
But this provider it's like a component.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So we're declaring something like a component, and then we're just importing it so that we can use it wherever we need to.
Yes.
So it kind of behaves like a component, but we're just passing state, really.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. There's 9 of us ready. All right. So should we move to store category?
Sure.
All right. Got to handle the dog. All right. So store category, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there was no need to really use anything there. Because nothing was going down more than one level. So there was really no need to bring anything in there. We'll wait for Chris to come back real quick before we move on to the next part. Let me look at the app real quick. All right, so store category, Chris, was kind of just its own thing. We didn't need anything there.
Okay. What about category container?
So category container. Okay. So here we need to bring in both contexts, and this is cool because we're allowed to do that. So we're going to bring in our use context hook from React as well as use state. And then we're going to import both of our contexts, our part and our cart context, because we're going to need both. And then once we do that, we're going to set const parts equal to our use context part context. And then we're going to set const cart to use context, cart context. Actually, I don't think we needed cart context here.
I thought you needed it at the bottom.
No, I didn't. I didn't need it. And I remember why. Yeah, you don't need it. See, we're never even using it.
All right, so the parts card with the toggle modal.
I just took everything that was related to cart out of it because when we're wrapping it in app, it will take care of it there.
Okay, so this is one where we didn't have to pass the props because of context. So we
Yep.
didn't have to drill through it.
Exactly.
Context in real life use case right there.
Yep. So this technically we do not need.
So anything cart related we don't need at the bottom.
Yep. So we're going to go through, once you've got this set up, go through again, anything with props dot parts, get rid of the props, and then everything within this parts card component that's being rendered here, get rid of everything related to cart. Because now we didn't need to drill those props through that. And I put another thumbs up thing there. I know we'll get tired of that eventually, but that way we don't leave anyone lost. And I know some of you guys who are just like dying for Redux and the refresher on that, this is probably boring to you, but we will get to the Redux stuff. That's Chris's forte.
Yay!
Sounds good.
I am one with Redux.
Just give
Jason?
it a thumbs up. Go ahead, Chandra. I'm sorry.
Um,
Go ahead.
No worries. So since basically we're replacing all the prop stock parts with the parts context, you think it'd be best just to take out the props altogether in the category container?
In the category container, like all the props.
Yeah, like the props that you're passing in and the
These-
MC stuff.
These are right here.
Oh no, sorry. Up above.
Props.
What was it? Yeah, over there. You
I
think
mean-
just maybe back that up?
I mean, yeah, we could take this out, and it's not going to hurt anything because, as you see, we're never even using anything.
Okay.
I just leave it in there out of habit.
Hmm.
And if you
Alright.
notice too, when we pass these in, we're destructuring. Right now, parts only has, if we go back to the part context, it only has parts. But when we get to our cart context, it has cart, set cart, remove cart, add cart. But where we pass it, we're destructuring, so we're only pulling in what we need.
Mm, okay. Very cool.
Because we don't need to pass in everything from our context, right? Because certain things aren't going to need the add function or the remove function. And don't mind like this stuff. My linter is just super crazy and it's yelling because there's not an alt tag.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't put it together accessible. It was a rush job, man.
It's a lawsuit right there.
Only if it's deployed. Only if it's deployed.
So we got 2 people ready. Are there more than that?
Sorry, I keep forgetting to hit the button.
And if you think that while we're just waiting for others to move along, once we're caught up, be best to maybe look over the TK on the context API.
You can, but I wouldn't. Will the TK be updated by the time we get there?
I'm going to take a
And your
look at
code.
it right now. Yeah, that's been the common thing with everything changing, but context hasn't had an update in like years. So I'm sure
Oh.
it's good.
Yeah, you can look at the TK and look at the way they do it because they do it differently than I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Advanced state management. Yeah, context. Ooh, that's the Smurf Sprint challenge. Oh, I love that one. Yeah, so they did it their original way I did it, where they called the provider, but just creating the context.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all fine. That's all the same. The only thing that seems weird, the way they originally teach it to you is like in your part context and cart context.js files, you literally have the file is just importing create context, and you're creating a context that you're exporting, and that's it. There's
Yeah,
nothing
it's
else in that file.
Just like this.
Pretty much. That's the whole file. And then you bring in and you do your your context with your values. You set them in app. You don't use the props children part of it. You're actually doing that in app. So where if you look in app right now, where we just call the cart context provider, we'd actually be typing in cart context dot provider and setting its value in there rather than in the cart context file itself.
Yeah, which I don't like to do because I don't see why the app needs to have that. It should just be in our context. But I like looking at app.js and it just being nice and clean and empty.
The only reason I could see doing it the other way is if you're making an API call or something. You kind of have to do that within the scope of a component.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, it's always good to learn multiple ways of doing things. And when you get good with them, you can start mixing and matching and really confuse anybody that ever looks at your code again. It's great.
Yeah, do it half in class components, half in functional. And
Why'd you do it that way?
Someone really hate you.
Why'd you do it that way? Because I can.
I like it.
All right, is everyone ready to move on? I see 6 thumbs.
And if you guys want, because this will probably, we got about 30 minutes till lunch, and this will probably go up to that, and you guys get caught up. If you want, Tommy, I can give them a walkthrough the other way, the way Lambda teaches.
All right, do you
After
want to
lunch,
switch up?
yeah, on that
lunch,
yeah, like on that, we got that the schedule they give us. I think it's like an optional hour or something like that. Or let me look at that.
Would you guys like that? Because like today we'll do context, and then tomorrow we'll do
Reducers, baby.
reducers.
Reducers is where it's at.
All right.
Yeah, we got like another work block from 12 to 2, and then 2 to 2:30 is an end of day stand up. And then 2:30 to 5 is another work block that's optional. That's basically, from what they just explained that to us, that's if you guys want to stick around for it and do something, cool. If not, cool. They want us to be around to answer questions for you guys if you're working on something. So that's what we're here for. It's like a Q&A session.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would actually even challenge you, take one of your projects from before, maybe during that work block if you want to do something, and convert it and pull all this data out and make some context for it.
And also, if you guys want to set this up to see like multiple things now that you have a forked copy of your own, give them different branch names. Like name this one like context, and then if we go through it again to like the code along this afternoon, you can call it like Chris context or Lambda context. And those branches, as long as you don't merge them in the master, whenever you're on your local machine and you switch the branch, it'll switch it to the code for that branch. So you can see the different stages that you went through all the way through the project.
Yep. All right, we got 8 thumbs. 2 more. Are we ready to move forward?
I think we're good. There shouldn't be much left, right? Just a couple of bringing them in and erasing props, I believe.
All right, so we're at category container. What's next?
We've done category store.
We've done store
Store
container.
category doesn't need it. Parts card doesn't need it. The part
But yeah, parts card does need it now.
parts card does. Oh, I keep looking at
Yes.
an old file. Never mind.
Yeah.
So parts card, sure.
Should we do parts.js first or parts card?
No, I don't care.
Hey, I'm going to jump off, guys. I have to jump on the call for the other project for the week, but I'll catch up with everyone later.
Cool.
All right, Michael. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So let's start in parts.js.
All right.
So we're going to pull in again our use context hook from React. And here we are going to use our part context and our cart context. And then once we get those pulled in, we're going to destructure from our cart context, cart, and looks like we didn't need set cart. So just cart equals use context, cart context, and parts for our part context. And once we've done that, just like before, go through, find anything with props.parts, get rid of it. Anything with props.cart, get rid of it. Well, don't get rid of it entirely, but get rid of the props dot. So anyone that hates Redux, start to like context yet?
I like Redux.
I know I'm never gonna sell Chris on this one. Although I do want to see what you were talking about with that custom hook.
The custom hooks, yeah, that's like sick. I gotta work up like a little mini like lecture thing for that probably at the end of the week because that's just cool.
Because if I could do away with Redux forever, I would really love that.
It's basically Redux with 3 less files.
Right. In the add cart function, when we want to change that props.set cart to just set cart,
Yes.
We're at
Line 20.
Yes. Yes. I missed that.
You probably never hit the button.
There we go. Good eye.
See, if you had your Cypress test running for that, it'd have caught it.
Yep. I knew there was a reason I brought in set cart. I just forgot to use it.
Okay.
I'm officially working ahead of you, Tommy.
All right. So we ready to move forward again to parts card? Everyone good?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So parts card, again, repetitive. Bring in our use state or use context hook. We're going to use the cart context. But here we need to bring in a few more things. We're going to bring in our cart remove, and our cart add, and set that to our cart context. See, it's nice. We can just pick and choose and destructure only what we need from there. And then we're just going to go through and remove anything with the props.cart, props.add, cart add, props.cart remove, and then this file will be good.
And if you guys see like there's still some props being passed around here. Normally whenever you're mapping over and creating multiples of a component, like when you're building out cards, you're still gonna have props because there's no way to really render that with context using the context object to map over and reassign everything individually.
Yep.
That's the only place you'll still see props.
And that's that modal issue too.
Oh.
But the modal was cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Just tripped me up a little bit.
Cart add is where we okay.
What exactly is modal? I'm not super familiar with it.
A modal is like a pop-up window. It's considered a modal. So if you look when you went through the project, you had it running, and like you went and clicked on a specific computer part, rather than it taking you completely navigating you to a new component, it just kind of pops up to the front of the screen. That's considered a modal window. Kind of like your HTML alerts or advertisements when you're browsing a web. Advertisement modals pop up. Normally you get the "we use cookies" pop up.
Is everyone still working on this file?
Oh,
I'm trying to think what we should jump to next. Maybe.
I think we got part and parts card covered, don't we? So the only thing left would be like the cart header and the cart details, and that'll cover the whole project.
Yeah. So we'll start in cart header. And there, again, use context. We're importing our cart context. We're then setting cart equal to our cart context.
oh, cards.
And then we're just removing the props.cart. I think that was the only thing in here that needed it. So that one should be real quick. And then I think we're going to do cart details next, and then header.js.
I don't even think there was anything in header, was there?
I think after the refactor, yeah, we got to bring in cart.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm done there.
Is everyone ready to move on to cart details?
I am.
Yeah, I'm good.
Everyone else? Everyone's so quiet.
It's Monday, man.
It is. It is Monday.
In quarantine too.
Yes.
I've been up since like 4 a.m.
Are you gonna include a link to this project, like what you have later? Because I've fallen a little behind somewhere, and I don't want to fall too far, and I want to go back later and fix some of the things. But right now I'm just taking notes on like what commands and stuff and hooks and stuff we're using. But yeah, are you gonna include the link to the project later?
Yeah, I'll get this up. Yeah, we'll get a link up.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem.
Oh, show. All right. Cart details gets what? Gets cart.
Yeah, cart details gets our use context, gets our cart context. And then we're just going to go through, and we need cart and cart remove from our cart context.
And then changing up those props. Okay. Huh. Very cool. Okay. Got that.
Down with the props. Down with the props.
Yep. And then we'll go to cart header after this, and then we'll take one more peek at app.js. Because app.js, if your project isn't rendering out right now during the refactor, it's probably going to be due to that at the end.
Okay. So I just
I think I'm there.
get rid of them. There you are.
In the header.
Is everyone ready to move on to the header?
Oh yeah, I see where it's needed in the header.
That'd be good to move on.
What was that, Robert?
I would be good to move on. We can wait up for somebody like, because I think we're still typing.
Okay. So if we go to header.js, we're pulling in use context and cart context. We're setting cart equal to our cart context, and then we're removing props.cart to make it just cart.
Oh.
When you're using use context, like where you have cart right there, does it have to have the same name? I'm assuming it does, since we're using are we typing it as cart because we have cart state set in cart context?
Correct. So if we go back to cart context and we look at our values, we have cart, set cart, cart remove, and cart add.
Okay.
And then where we're using that cart context, the only thing we really are concerned with here is just cart. So we're destructuring and just using what we need.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we did it like the cart context, we'd have to actually set values in here, which we don't want to do. So destructure, use what we need.
Cool.
And if we're ready, we will go back and take a look at app.js. Okay, so in app.js, we should have no more state. And then we should be passing no more props to any of our components. So if you're passing any props in, go ahead and remove them out of all of our components. And then we're going to wrap everything. Well, first we need to pull them in. We're going to import in our parts context provider and our cart context provider, which are those component-like things we created in our context file. And then inside of our router, we're going to add our part context provider and wrap everything with it. And inside of that, we're going to bring in our cart context provider and wrap everything with that. So the part context provider is going to wrap everything within router, and then the cart context provider is going to wrap everything within the part context provider.
Okay. Anything that mentions what cart remove, cart add, and whatnot, just take them out.
Yep. All the props that are passed into the components, take them out.
Dang. Quite a bit of code to delete.
Once you get the back end, Luis will tell you deleting code is progress. If you're adding code, you're going backwards.
So we want to keep our code dry.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
And is everyone rendering their app now? Is it working?
As soon as I export default my cart context, I might.
And if we have anyone not rendering yet, let us know if you have an error or something, and we will have you share, and we'll troubleshoot it and get you fixed up. And I just dropped a thing in there. Give me a thumbs up if your app is rendering with no errors.
Oh, where is it exported from? Part.js. Oh, whoops.
I don't know about you guys, but that's the beauty of React after messing with CSS and all that stuff for the longest time. At least it tells you what's wrong. You get that big old red error that tells you what's wrong,
Yeah, it does.
rather than just stuff just quits working and you don't know why and doesn't tell you. Oh, it's up and running finally. Let me see if I can click on stuff. All right.
Is everyone running? Thumbs up in the channel. If your app is rendering, no errors, everything's good.
Just trying to get. Oh.
We should have like a little challenge after this is running. Like everybody build their own PC under $1,000, and let's see what everybody comes up with.
There we go.
What the? Oh.
All right, Hunter. It sounds like you're having trouble. Share your screen.
I'm just noticing little errors at a time. There. So let's see here. So I just tried doing the add cart, and this came up where the
Type
prop stop.
cart add is not a function. Cart add. Okay, so
It's a parts card.
let's go to partscard.js and let's scroll down. Carts add is right there. Go up. You are bringing it in from our cart context, which is right.
Oh, you're not putting it in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is a function. We just didn't give it to it yet.
Yep.
There we
It
go.
didn't know about it.
Hey.
Try that. Let's see here. Okay, I'm trying to move.
Yeah,
That's working.
it's empty. Oh, here we go. Items of undefined. So we got a prop stock cart dot item. So we got extra props in there.
That'd be what, 38?
Yeah.
There
Get
we
rid of
go.
the props.
Ooh, just missed that.
That
Yep.
refactoring, that's gonna happen, man.
Okay, so that's working.
I picked out some pretty sick cases too. You guys should check them out.
Why not?
I actually
this one.
saw a couple of parts that I used in my PC on here. I thought that was funny.
Sweet.
All right, I think I got it all.
Nice.
Okay, so add that. Oh yeah, that context, it actually makes it a lot cleaner. I like that.
Yeah, it's a little more work behind the scenes, some extra files and stuff, but when you start getting into master scope of things, it's cleaner, it's easier to read your code because you're not seeing the redundant props word or destructuring props to const variables at the top of the component all over the place, and tends to, make it a little easier to read.
Yeah. And it lets us go ahead and just shove those wherever we want.
Yeah, you can go 8, 10, 12 levels deep in a component and bring it in rather than having to say, set cart equals props dot set cart, and then go into the next component, set cart equals props dot set cart. Or you just copy and paste that down through all the levels till you finally get to where you're going to use it.
Mm.
That probably would have been very useful. And what was it? I think it was like the first forms lesson, where like you just have like a separate component of the forms, but maybe using the context could just easily got it all in.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, Chris, but on that project he was talking about, or that daily project, that was the one where I was passing my props backwards.
Oh, yes, yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't kick my butt.
Yeah, that's where I had the explanation of React works a lot like gravity. Data only goes downhill. It don't go up.
Yep. Data goes down, events go up.
Yep.
Sense.
Yeah, hi. I got an error in app.js.
Okay, let's take a look. Share screen. Okay, part context provider is not defined. Okay, so it should be part. It should be part context provider.
That's correct.
To the left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part context, not parts.
Yeah, no S.
No
Yeah.
S. Oh, okay.
And then
That's just probably misspelling.
let's go down and check.
Oh, I think we gotta double use context there. It's
Oh,
already been declared.
Okay, yeah, let's
line-
go up top.
You bring it twice here. It's there. It's not in this component. It's in a different one.
Yeah.
If you scroll up a little bit in your terminal, it should tell you where that component error is coming from.
I think it's in category
It's in part. I could see the export default function part at the bottom. So yeah, part.js.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Part.js.
Yeah. And yeah, erase line 5 because you're bringing it in on line 1.
Oh, yes.
There we go. All right. Parts is not defined.
Parts is not defined.
Part.js.
Just this one, I guess.
Well, it's
Oh,
you gotta prop still. We
Right.
gotta ditch the props.
Or oh no, wait. I think
And that needs to be lowercase.
Oh, it needs to be
Yeah.
this, okay.
Yeah, and then line 15, you got props dot parts to get rid of the props.
15.
Yeah, over to the
It's like
right.
it's on line 17.
Right
as
here.
well.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
anything
okay.
with props.parts, we just wanted to say parts.
Yeah, and 17, same thing.
Yep, line 17.
And
I think that's it. Looks like a win.
the components.
Unexpected on what component is that? Can you scroll up a little in your terminal?
category.
Category container. Yep. Let's head to
Yep,
category container.
category container. Okay, yeah, so we want to import that from somewhere. So import part context,
Oh,
and then we need from.
Oh,
You need the from outside the bracket.
sorry.
The from needs to come outside the bracket.
Uh-oh.
how do you get them dots in there? I want those.
But I did some settings inside, like, when I started, but I don't know after. I'm sorry, I'm missing you. Part context from.
Yeah, you
We
want
need-
the closing
we-
curly brace between part context and from.
Yeah, we need a
Oh, up
closing
here. Okay.
brace there.
And
Bring it from the part context file.
So //
this context. And
It doesn't. Why didn't it automatically pick it up? That was kind of weird.
Oh wait, I think you have context inside of your.
It's inside the components folder. Yeah. So
Oh,
you do.
that's
Yeah. No worries.
you- just go back to your import and do //
just
it-
here, only one, not two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use context is not defined parts.
Card. Yeah. Bring in
Oh,
use
yeah,
context.
right
Yeah.
here.
Oh, you want to keep that use state?
I don't think it's needed. Actually, I think it was left over from the old one. I think you're good.
Let's see.
Yeah, mine is
Yeah,
grayed out.
needed.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeah.
So now
Okay.
we got those are not defined.
Cart context.
Because this is two, I need only one, right?
I think it's still getting an error in cart context.
Yeah.
Oh, not in your part cart context.
There's a problem with line 7 too. You gotta use context in curlies where it's equal to on line 7.
Yeah, it needs to be equal to take those curlies out.
And,
Up here.
Yeah.
Take the curly braces out. We still want to equal to. But now we want to give it parentheses after use context. And then bring in our cart context.
Same. This was in card context, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's in cart context
It's the wrong
JS.
one. This one.
Okay, let's cart context equals create context. Let's go down, scroll down.
look at the.
Oh, I gotta
provider.
remove these props.
Mm-mm.
Or I can
Nope.
leave it.
No, that needs to be there. Cart context provider value equals cart, set cart, cart remove, cart add. That looks correct.
Saying
Export.
line 9, cart remove.
Okay, go up.
Oh yeah, they're all smushed together.
Yeah, you gotta put a space in between const and cart. There we go. I was saying cart is not defined. Cart is defined right there.
Wait, in line 30.
Let's go check out line 30, see what it's saying. It's got something going on there. It's not liking something.
I'm wondering if we're importing the everything correctly.
Sure, let's see.
Context equals create.
Do we need the props here? No.
For some reason, it's not picking up any of the functions or anything. Scroll down and see if it's outside the scope of the function, your return statement.
Yeah, it might be.
It is. Yeah, you
It
gotta
is.
move that whole block up inside of line 28.
So highlight line 33 through line 29. Just highlight all of it
Okay.
and then press Alt up arrow.
Alt.
Alt up arrow.
Alt and the up arrow key, and it should pop it. There you go. Save that.
There it goes.
Ah.
Okay.
Ah.
Now we're
Now-
getting closer.
That's true.
Following
This
the
is
error chain.
true.
Can't
Okay.
resolve cart context.
Yeah, you need to take them back to 1 dot.
Yeah, just 11 dot.
Yeah.
We're probably running into something. We're up the header. Let's go into the header and fix it.
Header, take away the
Yeah.
It's called
thing.
header.
cart header.
Yeah, it's the same thing with everything.
And now part
That one's in part context. It can't resolve data because data's up an extra level. So yeah, that's where we're importing the data. So it probably have to be dot dot slash data.
Yeah. So yep.
Dot
Dot
slash.
Add an extra /.
Oh no.
No?
No, like in between where it says data and that first slash, add another dot dot slash. So it's dot dot
Okay.
slash dot dot slash.
No.
This 2 dot slash and
And then 2 dots slash again and then data.
No.
You want data on the
before
other
data.
side.
So
Mhm.
delete that last slash and those last 2 dots.
oh, okay.
Delete that slash also after data. And then in between the slash and data,
Okay.
do dot dot slash.
There we go.
Okay. What does it mean?
That means go up 2 levels or
Oh,
out
okay.
2 levels.
think of it this way. The single dot means the current directory that you're in. And when you
Yeah.
put 2 dots in, it moves up 1 directory. Well, because you had your context folder inside of components, to get to data, you got to go up 2 directories. So the only way to do
Okay.
that is do the dot dot slash to get you to the first one, and then you do it again, and it gets you to the second one where that data folder lives. And you could like
Oh,
chain those together. It's like if you're 7 directories deep, you can dot dot slash all day long and get there.
Wow. So that's what the directories. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now we got category container. Cannot resolve / content.
Because of S.
It's always typos. They get you.
Right. Sure.
They get you.
A cart context JS does not match the corresponding name on disk.
Why we have context? You see that? Source components context.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Yeah, lowercase c's.
Oh, yeah.
App.js.
Module not found here.
Oh, there's 2 dots. Oops.
Well, no, if you're an app,
Are
you
they
gotta go
outside of
into
the source?
No, you got to go into components and then context. So it'd be / component / context, because you got to go into your component folder
One
to get to
more
it.
inside.
Yeah. See if it finds it now. Oh, it's lighting up. That's promising.
Right. Oh, it's finally working. Let's see. Oh no, it throws an error.
Let's see what's our error. Okay, so that is in store container JS line 38. All right, let's look in your store container.
I got so many up. Open up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's scroll down to line 38, or wait, it's right there, 38. Const parts.
Oh,
Equals
you want
use
to first remove that props.parts?
Yep.
Oh,
that's
up
what it
here,
is.
yes.
Would y'all mind if I went ahead and stepped out for lunch?
No, go for it,
Oh,
man.
yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, let's
I'm
see.
gonna mark
what-
you absent, Corey.
Let's go. Wait, what does that say?
Maybe the part context is not being imported? Or-
Let's look back in that file again. So parts equals use context. Scroll up to the top of your file. Part context from dot.
Oh,
Component.
curly brackets.
Yeah, part context got to be destructured.
Yeah. We need, this is a named import, so we need curly brackets around it.
Okay.
California.
Oh, that works.
It's
Thank
alive.
you.
It's
It's
alive.
alive. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys.
No problem. Click around. Let's see if we can break it.
Sure.
Yeah, we
Oops.
broke it.
We broke it.
Yes.
All right, so category container, it looks like we didn't remove props dot parts.
Very.
Line 33.
Oh,
Oh yes.
Props dot parts. Yeah, it ain't no fun unless you break it. So
Right. Okay. Now container.
42. Yeah.
Oops.
Same file. So just go on down in that file to line 42
Yeah, up here.
and get rid of the props. Save that.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Let's see.
Making it again.
Click on one, add it to the cart. We're
Okay.
breaking again. All right.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I don't know.
Oh,
It's
hey, this is
okay.
how we learn. This is good stuff.
So now we are in
Card contest.
yeah, cart context. Line 24.
That should be right.
Yeah, wait a
Oh
second.
wait, do you need to
Let's see my
separate
AirPods.
the items and part with a comma instead of a dot?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, TV and John clearly going.
Or
Wait,
no,
what-
no,
This
You're gonna
no.
What file are we in?
Cart
card
context.
contest. Yeah.
Keep the colon with the items, just like what you had before. It's side of the square brackets. You have that prep cart dot items cart.
Here?
Oh yeah, take the period out of items dot part.
No, not there.
So
Oh, up here.
Yeah, right there. Yep. And make it a comma.
and then put a comma.
Unbreak. It is unbroken.
Okay. So let's see.
All right, let's click on one and add it. It's already in the cart.
Nice.
Click close and then click on your shopping cart. You should have 2 of them. Woohoo!
Remove one.
Yeah, that works.
Remove one.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right, props.cart. It looks like in our cart context. or
Cart details.
Card details. Okay.
Cart details.
You just scroll past it.
Yeah, we were in a
Yeah,
lot of
let's have
components today.
Yeah. Yeah.
There it is, right?
Cart
Parts
details.
Right
Above.
here.
All right. Up here.
Let's
And-
find
Okay,
the
and
pesky
it's
props.
line 49. And scroll on over. And
Oh,
it's
up here,
the
props.
props.cart remove. And I think that should be good.
Okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Okay, let's add something to your cart and let's try to remove it.
And click close. Go to the cart.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
What is
Cart-
filter?
Filter.
Filter.
Okay, that needs to be filter. So let's go to cart.
Context line 12.
Yeah, cart context line 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it needs to be filter. Change that O to an I. Save it. And let's try it again.
Be healed. Be healed. Yes.
There we go.
Thank you.
No problem. We're having fun now.
Yeah, but I don't want to hold you up if anybody else needed help. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
it's fine.
no, no problem.
It's a
Yeah.
study group. We're not keeping a schedule.
That's true.
But
yeah.
I do know we were supposed to break for lunch 15 minutes ago, so we should probably do that.
Yeah, let's meet
Okay.
back at 12:15.
Yeah, I'm cool
Okay.
with that. And then we'll do context to Lambda way.
Oh.
Okay.
Actually, I'll have to go for work probably shortly after lunch, but probably meet you guys tomorrow.